This weekend, Formula 1 returns to an absolute fan favorite, the Autódromo José Carlos Pache at Interlagos, Sao Paulo. Pretty much every F1 fan is delighted that this track is still here, as a couple of years back there were some intense discussions, and I even think there was sort of a contract in place to move the Brazilian Grand Prix back to Rio de Janeiro on a soulless new track using land that actually was nature reserve. Luckily, for the sake of both racing fans and nature, it never came to fruition. But did you know that it wouldn't have been the first time that Interlagos would get dropped for a race in Rio, as after 1980 the old Interlagos layout was seen not fit for hosting F1 anymore, mainly because of poor quality of the asphalt. And back then, the track we had at Rio was actually a pretty decent one. In fact, it is one I really enjoy with the cars of the time, the Autódromo Internacional Nelson Piquet at Jacarepaguá. Now, before we talk about a possible return of F1, there is no need. Interlagos is awesome, and the Jacarepaguá track doesn't exist anymore, as it had to make way for the 2016 Olympics, sadly. But just as with Hockenheim, let's ignore facts and look at this in theory. Would the Autódromo Internacional Nelson Piquet be suitable for modern F1 cars? Well, here's a quick hot lap for a first look. I must say, this track is, or was, immensely underrated in my opinion. It might be missing a few things that make Interlagos great, like elevation change and multiple spots for slipstreaming and overtaking, but it has such an amazing flow in these cars. It is of course a very technical track, you can see that already. But with the long backstraight that was also used for the oval that was created after F1 left to host kart races here, overtaking would not be so much of an issue. But you know, as always, we're gonna do a short race on this track to test exactly this. Here is a short 5-lap race on the Autódromo Internacional Nelson Piquet. And here we are on the grid at Rio de Janeiro, as Lewis Hamilton, one of the most popular drivers in Brazil. That's why I decided to go with him. Unfortunately, we don't have a Brazilian driver right now in Formula 1. As we go into turn 1, a very long, very flowing right-hander as we try to move past Fernando Alonso here with a little bit of wheel banging. And now into one of the very technical bits we go. This is the corner Carlos Pache, and then here turn 3, flat out in these cars, and a great opportunity to break inside, to dive down the inside of the opponent car, like we did here with Lance Stroll into turn 4. And now on to the circuit's best overtaking spot, which is called Yunsao, which you will find on Interlagos as well. So I guess Yunsao probably just means straight, is my guess. Though, of course, I can't speak a single word of Portuguese. Except, of course, Junsao, if this is true. But, yeah, anyway, here, this is a very, very nice, very flowing but technical bit of the track. Flat out through that one. We kind of forgot that you can go flat out through there. And then the corner called Box, turn 10. And already towards the final corner we go. And, yeah, let's see if we can make a move now on Fernando Alonso. Let's just focus on what is going on here, because that was quite an interesting opening lap. Into turn 1 once again. Oh, Alonso runs very wide here, so that's an easy spot gain for us as we move up into P6. And now we have a Red Bull just ahead. And ahead of him is George Russell, our teammate. Once again, flat out through here. This time we don't find a way past the Red Bull. Oh, I think that's even Max Verstappen. We move past him, and now we are getting a good slipstream. This is this very long straight I've been talking about earlier, which is probably the best overtaking spot now against George Russell into that very long left-hander, which is called Soul. Oh, he manages to stay ahead. We make a little bit of contact even with George. And I think that even has bent our suspension a little bit. We'll lose another spot to that Red Bull once again. So back into P6, just where we started this lap. But yeah, some interesting racing going on, and you can actually take lots of these corners side by side, as it's possible to go through them side by side, a bit like it is in some of the corners at Silverstone, which is always great to see if battles go on for multiple corners, and it's not just, yep, open the rear wing, or, well, use some slipstream, get past, and, well, that's it, as Max Verstappen just into turn 1 moves past George Russell. Good move by him there. Didn't expect that to happen into turn 1, but as you can see, you can overtake there as well, especially if the AI does it, because this is still a bit of a weakness in AMS2. And now let's see, this is once again a corner where the exit is so important, because then you go onto that long flat out bit, turn up our battery mode. Once again, a good slipstream. Russell is defending the insides, and we try to go around the outsides. We can be early on the throttle now, even getting a little bit of a slipstream from Max, and then, oh, more contact between the two of us. Russell even runs wide, but he manages to stay ahead. Now, if that was a real race, you probably would hear Hamilton complaining that George gained an advantage. Well, I mean, he extended the track, but it's grass there, so he shouldn't really have an advantage. Late on the brakes into the final corner. Oh, that's a terrible move. Oh, we pushed Russell out there. Oh, that was very dirty. Oh, but also quite a kind of a mistake. I thought that was an opportunity. Just wanted to go on the brakes a little bit later than usual, but that didn't work at all. We take out George. Oh, running a little wide there as well, fighting with our car that is now very crooked, some damage to the suspension. You can see as how I have to hold the steering wheel to go in a straight line. That's unfortunate. Toto won't be too happy about that. Tables will have been smashed. But, well, we are 5th. And, well, Toto should be used to fireworks at Mercedes. Just as it was from 2014 to 2016. And as we're now a bit in no man's land, not close enough to that Red Bull to try any move there, let's just talk about that track a little bit, and maybe even we can already draw a bit of a conclusion, because I think you've seen that racing actually works very fine. And well, oh my goodness, that is now straight up embarrassing for the second time in succession. We are way too late into the final corner. Both Aston Martins move past. Now, well, George Russell might be coming back to us now. He's just behind us in 8th. But I was just talking about that track, and I think it's really a shame that this track is no more. And well, it has been demolished, of course, to make room for the 2016 Olympics. I've told you that. And well, the most unfortunate thing, I think, is that these venues aren't even put to sustainable and good use anymore. Like many of the 2016 Olympic venues in Rio, they are abandoned, and that is a huge shame, because this track, as you can see, it's really great. Of course, it's not as good as Interlagos, I still stand by that, but it is a very cool track and was still used until it was demolished, for example, by the Brazilian Stock Car Series. And yeah, it's just a huge shame, because I feel like this is, of course, after Interlagos, pretty much it is the second big racetrack, or was the second big racetrack in Brazil. The other track that has hosted Formula 1 and has hosted so for quite some time, between 1981 and 1989, so the entire 80s was spent here, pretty much. Yeah, huge shame that this is no more. Oh, look at that, George Russell is back, and he is back for... he just does not make it. So we finished that race in P7. Well, not the proudest race I ever did in Automobilista 2, but yeah, it's just to give you an idea about this track, and I think that has done very well, and this has even showed that this track, it is quite challenging also. I really enjoy driving it every time here in Automobilista 2, and I think it's also a track that is kind of neglected maybe in other Sims games, obviously because also it doesn't exist anymore, but yeah, I'm just glad that it is still here in Automobilista 2 and you can experience it yourself. You don't even need a DLC for it. It is base content in the game, and yeah, if you haven't done so already, because it maybe goes under in all of the Brazilian tracks that Automobilista 2 has to offer, give it a try. I think it is really one of the best tracks that Brazil has to offer. Anyway, that has been it for this video. I've been talking pretty much throughout this cooldown lap. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap this up. Brilliant track. Unfortunately, we can't go here anymore. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to also not miss anything happening on this channel. And yeah, I hope to see you all the next time. Until then, goodbye.